Hi, Leah.
Hi, Kamna.
I am so excited today because our guest today is one of my teachers from my program from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I always say it kind of, I forget the words order. Angela Syndes is an integrative nutrition health coach and a chef. So,
A chef,
welcome.
a chef. That's
Yeah.
so I don't know. You're like up there to me, like a chef.
Oh,
I
really?
love it. Yes, I love it.
I haven't totally embraced the chef title because I'm not formally trained. I didn't go to culinary school. But I started teaching cooking classes after graduating from Institute for Integrative Nutrition a long time ago. I was trying to help people. Well, it evolved into that. I wanted people to
Okay.
eat more whole foods. And then recently I worked at a wellness center and trained one-on-one with a chef there who taught chefs how to be chefs. And they called me a chef there, and I'm going with
Go
it.
with it. Go
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
I
Right?
follow
Yeah.
you on Instagram and you do a lot of cooking, it looks like, for retreats. First of all, your Instagram handle is Wildcrafted Way.
Correct. Yep.
So tell me a little bit about the retreats and what you're cooking and what you're doing there.
Yeah, I started doing retreats like a long, long time ago. Primarily just teaching workshops and things like that. But most recently, I've been a guest chef at the Point Retreats, and it's amazing. Everyone check them out, thepointretreats.com. And I've been a guest chef there, and I've been coming up with the menu and the cooking all the food with the team, of course, for retreats. And we primarily focus on clean eating, like I think we're going to talk about today.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
it's, gluten free, low, no, it's all natural, whole foods, minimally processed, just really good, lots of delicious food. So that's really fun. And then also I get the opportunity to teach some culinary classes as well. And most of those culinary classes at the retreat are eligible for continuing medical education credits. So
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, so that's been a really fun thing to do too.
wow.
What
You're
is
busy.
the yeah.
You are busy then.
It just sounds like it, but
Oh, okay.
What is the in your courses, what is the biggest question that you get or the most common question?
in like a cooking class.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, Well, I feel like the thing that most people struggle with is like basic knife skills, but also like how to store vegetables. Like,
Oh,
we've all had those good intentions where we bought the bag of spring mix or the cilantro and it, goes bad. I feel like most people like they get so much value out of like how to store produce
Wait,
and
we could do a whole episode on how to store
yeah,
produce.
we could.
yeah.
I've been meaning to make that reel on Instagram, just haven't done it yet.
Oh my
So
Please
gosh.
do. We want
I
to
All right.
know.
Well, all right. So let me
will.
just ask. I know we don't want to get into it fully, but how do you personally store your like head of like lettuce, romaine,
Yeah, well,
spring stuff?
for romaine, I would for sure use aluminum foil. So that's probably yeah.
Oh.
Uh,
Wait,
and
like you cut it up, wash it up.
no, I don't cut it. I don't even really wash it right away. Like I
Okay.
would buy like the 3 pack,
Yeah.
and then I would separate it out, get it out of that plastic, and then just wrap it in loosely in romaine or in aluminum
Yeah.
foil. I don't know why. I don't know what the science is, but celery, same thing. So that
Really?
I would do like that. And I mean, I don't even want to tell you how long I've been able to keep celery when I do it that way, but it lasts forever. But like, if it's kale or a Swiss chard or, something like that, or like parsley or cilantro, I would store it like a cut flower, like cut the fresh cut on the bottom, put it in a vase, maybe like loosely cover it, with like a produce bag or something on the top. Yeah, that's how I would store it.
Both of our mouths are hanging open. Like
I
it's so
know,
much
I'm like, what?
information.
Really? Okay, I have another question. Do you put your onions in your refrigerator?
Good question.
No, not unless I've cut it. Then I will, peel it and wrap it like in plastic wrap or, any kind of thing like that. But no, I store the onions at room temperature in a cool, dark place.
Same with your potatoes then?
Yeah, but you want to keep the potatoes and onions separate because the onions encourage the potatoes to sprout.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Because you see the
Okay,
bins are like onions and potatoes, and you're like,
And they're right
put them
next to
on
each
top.
other all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's not a good combo. Yeah.
well, I've been storing my onions wrong for my whole life. So now I'm learning, check. Foil is going to be on my,
Yeah, with onions, I will only put them in the fridge if it's like cut. Like if you only use half an onion, I would like clean it up, get all the skin off, cut off the roots, and then maybe wrap it in like a tight something. And then if you use plastic wrap, you can use that. That's what we use in the kitchen. I think that's like the standard practice. But at
Oh my
home, I have
gosh.
like those like reusable, I don't know, things. And you can
yes, those like,
stick the
yeah.
onion in there. Yeah, I use that.
Excuse me. Oh my God. All right. I could keep going, but I won't. Go ahead. I know because we
Seriously.
have a whole bunch of questions to ask you. So go ahead, Kamala.
Once I was writing you the email with some of the questions we were going to ask, I'm like, I have a million more. I could just ask you all day long. Where I want to start with this though is you talked about eating whole foods and clean eating. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, that's and I think for different people that means different things, right?
Mhm.
When I taught about whole foods and clean eating, I really focused on like a standard elimination diet, like the trying to reduce processed foods,
Mhm.
highly processed. So basically what it is eating whole, minimally processed foods that are nutrient dense. So getting away from processed foods and sugar and seed oils. And, for some people, clean eating would be meat free. And for other people, it would be like good, lean, either wild or ethically raised meat. And so also with the approach of like the 5 major allergens, like gluten, dairy, corn, soy, what's the other one? What am I missing?
Eggs.
Eggs. Yeah, eggs. Yeah, that's always probably the toughest one for people, but kind of introducing that. And then of course there's different levels of a elimination diet, like an autoimmune or like the Whole30, where they even take greens off of that. So I kind of introduce all, or keto, like all kind of like these different styles of elimination diets. But with mine, I primarily in the recipes focused on just those 5 major allergens, I learned that it's better to, with language, to approach it with adding in some more of the whole nutrient dense foods. And like, here's this idea of an elimination diet. But let's not focus on all this stuff that I'm telling you to reduce or eliminate. Let's just focus on adding in like more of these nutrient dense, like fruits and veggies, whole grains. And if you are going to have animal protein or products, looking for the like cleanest source, like organic, pasture raised, like that kind of wild.
Mhm. Okay, so 2 questions off the bat. One, you said something about staying away from seed oil.
Yeah, like canola,
What is this?
soybean,
Oh,
um,
okay.
sunflower. Yeah.
Okay. Is that because it's higher in fat, or what is the reasoning for that one?
They're just really inflammatory oils.
Oh.
Yeah, and it has to do with the processing, and I don't know all the science, or I can't really
Mhm.
tell you why.
That's
But
okay, yeah.
yeah, they're just really inflammatory seeds. So I would recommend primarily olive oil. During that, like we would eliminate butter, but I think, butter even is probably a better source than, canola oil.
Okay. Okay. Now I want to circle back to that, but let me do my other question. Oh my God. So here's my other question. You said when you start talking to somebody about eating their whole foods and eating, cleaning up their food a little bit, you focus on what you can eat.
Right. Yeah.
So you're not saying to somebody,
Yeah.
listen, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. You're saying, let's eat this, 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 and this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I learned that the hard way, honestly, because when I developed this from my own experience doing an elimination diet. And I was just like, wow, I can't believe how effective this was, because I learned about it in school. And I was like, I never fully, went for it. I'd try like this and, but I had this health situation come up and I was like, well, I'm just going to try it. So after I tried that, I was like, everyone needs to do an elimination diet. So when I first started teaching, I'm like, quit all your stuff. And I triggered people so bad. I had one lady after the first time I taught this class, she's like, I went to, the gas station and bought donuts. And, I was like, oh, I'm doing this all wrong. So I started, focusing instead. I was like, I'm going to introduce you this concept of an elimination diet. It's, I think, a very good therapeutic way to find out what foods are causing maybe potential inflammation, and then, adding them back in, and it may or may not be causing you trouble, but you can then like get that information. But I want to introduce this to you. You might want to jump in and try it right now, or you might want to get all the information and try it later when you're ready. But what I would like to focus on is like starting to add in more whole foods, nutrient dense foods, and that just, it seemed like people took bigger steps when I was like, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do the elimination. I'm just going to teach you about it. But here's all these great recipes. Here's the foods that you can add in. Here are the ways to do it, and that you can incorporate it in an easy way into your life. So it was, I had to learn that the hard way, because I definitely was like, everybody do this. And that was wrong.
Well, yeah, I think people want to see, well, if I can't do that, but what is it that I can do? So focusing on a more positive, proactive approach.
Yeah,
That's-
it's scary to be like, eliminate everything that you,
Yeah.
especially if you don't have the skills or you have no idea how to make quinoa or cook kale or something like that. It's yeah.
What is your opinion on buying organic?
Oh.
Yeah, no, I do have an opinion, because I did work in agriculture. My background's in herbalism, and I know
Oh.
organic, and there's all these loopholes, and they still spray stuff and all of that. But I do feel like it is like better for the environment, is better for the workers. Because when I worked, I worked at a a large wholesale nursery, and we grew strawberries, but when they sprayed the strawberries, a person couldn't be in that vicinity for like 72 hours, how toxic the chemicals were, so we're exposed to that. Like the farm workers are exposed to those chemicals. Someone had to spray those. So I feel, yeah, I definitely try to stick to the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 from the environmental working group.
Wait, let me write that down. Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
Okay. And the what?
Clean 15. Yeah. Every year they study, like they do tests on it's from the environmental working group,
Okay.
ewg.org. But every year they do like a test, all the produce that has the most and least chemicals. So if people are going to start, avocados and onions, I think, are on the Clean 15 usually every year. So don't worry about buying organic for that, but like apples and peaches and strawberries and greens and things like that, those are usually in the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah. So you recommend starting there, not just like going to the store and getting every single thing, and like it's just like a slow process more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's realistic for everybody to buy organic, and like some things just aren't available organic. I'm also a gardener, so I love to grow as much as I can, or even support like local growers, because and there is a lot of hurdles and everything like that to be like certified organic, so it's not necessarily feasible for a local farmer who may have like really great sustainable farming practices to be certified organic. So local first, organic second,
Oh,
clean 15, dirty dozen, I would say.
Wow.
oh, I know. My pen is going so fast. Anyway, go on, Kamina. What was just keep going?
So if a person is starting out wanting to eat more nutrient dense foods, is there, I guess the where I would start is if I'm a person who's wanting to start this journey, I would have a lot of confusion. How do
Yeah.
I start? What do I learn? What do I go for information, or how do I know what to buy and what not to buy?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's really confusing. I think that's why my class always sold out because
Yeah.
like so many people were just like, I don't even know what to do. And there's so much conflicting information with the diet culture and the diet,
Mhm.
this diet and that diet and everything like that. I think, your podcast or other trusting resources, but a health coach is a great place to start. Some uh wellness coach class, there's so many people teaching classes on this right now, so I think you could maybe find that even on, well, I was going to say like on social media, but some of that too is conflicting, right?
Right.
I follow the raw vegan and the carnivore people, so like they are like totally opposed. But I that's a good question. I think it might depend on what your resources are and what's available to
Mhm.
you. But
That's true. That's a good point.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because, it may be that, like, if you can buy local, that's available to you, but maybe if you go to a store that has some local produce, that may be better than going directly to a farm.
Yeah.
I think there are options, I guess.
Mhm.
Well, it also would, I would say, I would think would have to also factor in your budget.
Exactly. Right.
Like if you have a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods by you, but you can't afford that place and you're affording all these, then you have to kind of go with what you can get for your budget,
Well, I
right?
love
Right.
Aldi. They have great organic produce.
They do.
Yeah, no, I
They
prefer
do.
Aldi to Trader Joe's, but I think like they have more of a turnover, so their stuff is always fresh.
Mm.
Yes.
Like it's fresh, like it's not old. It hasn't been sitting out. Like some of my like local grocery stores, like they must not sell a lot of organic because you can tell it's like it's not as good. It's like old. But like Aldi, like they turn over their produce, like so it's fresher.
Mm. That's good to know too.
That is good to know.
Yeah.
Well, that's
It
me.
seems
Yeah.
Yeah.
it seems
Well,
like this is so straightforward, but really it's just a matter of getting the information and figuring out, like, yeah, I know I should eat clean, but what does that mean exactly? And
Mhm.
then how much of my food, like, maybe I don't have time to cook, and maybe I don't, as somebody we know doesn't like to cook.
I don't like it.
So
I'm gonna be the someone. I'm gonna be the someone. I hate it. I hate cooking. I do.
yeah, what is
I
it about
do it.
cooking that you
I
hate?
probably the time it takes,
Yeah,
probably the prep, probably the amount of money it costs, and last but not least, I have to please 4 people.
yeah, that's super hard.
Yeah.
I hear those are that would be because I always ask people like, what stops you from doing it and time. A lot of people feel like they are wasting time, like they should be doing, something else. Like I have, because we all have that running to-do list. Like I have
Mhm.
this and then there's like the mess and you got to clean it up. And what about if it doesn't taste good and all of
Yeah.
that? Yeah. Yeah. I love to cook and I make a huge mess. And I kind of like to look at it as sort of like a form of meditation, but I also like to multitask. Like it's a great time to listen to podcasts or
Yeah.
an audio book or, something like that. But
Mhm.
if you don't like to cook, I would just keep it as simple as possible. So you're not making a big mess, like one pot things, or, there's, chop once, cook, like if you're chopping onions, don't just chop half the onion, cut the rest of it, and then you have it ready, for the
For the
week.
next.
Yeah, for the next
Mhm.
thing. Or like how, I found like if you like even with produce, like just bringing it home and like washing it and storing it properly, or maybe even like pre-chopping things. So then it's just like ready to go. So maybe make the mess like once, doing all the prep like in advance. So then it's just like easier. But I
Mhm.
love leftovers, so I definitely plan for leftovers, or or just real simple things. One thing I've been, is just eating like pickled vegetables. So, just,
Mm.
not anything too complicated.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if that's helpful.
If a person has like 5 to 10 go-to thing meals that they make, how important is it to have variety within that rotation?
Yeah, that's that's really interesting because I had done some inflammatory tests where like a blood test where it like measured like a whole tons, like hundreds of different like foods and herbs and how like your cells reacted. And I literally was putting like celery and cucumber in my smoothie every single day, and that came back as like highly reactive for me.
Oh,
And they were like, sometimes, especially if you eat a food like all the time, like you start to build up an intolerance to it or something. So they were suggesting like on that, that, I eliminate those foods for so much time, or like to rotate like certain foods that did cause a little bit of a reaction, like only eat those once a week, or like kind of rotate them out and have more variety. So I don't know. I think there might be something to that, but I'm not an expert on that.
I think
okay.
that's interesting. And I'm gonna just real quick, like my mom recently, like 2 weeks ago, realized that she started developing an intolerance to almonds. And she's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
how do I get this now? Well, in the meantime, she's been eating almond this, like 500 different almond things. Like, and then, and now that you said that, it makes sense. Like, it's not that you're necessarily allergic, but maybe your body is just like building that up and it's okay to have every once in a while.
yeah. That's like what they said. Like once you do the elimination of these like inflammatory things,
Mhm.
then like introducing them back and just kind of like paying attention to how you
Yeah, but
feel.
not eating them like every day of your
Not
life.
eating
You know
them
what I
every.
mean?
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I
So
Because
do
I've
you're
also
saying
heard,
let me
yeah,
think about like even with like greens, a lot of people that are, the carnivore people that say don't eat greens because of the oxalates or whatever. But when like in nature, like you would eat a variety of different greens, right? Because you are I don't know, like the deer is eating
Mhm.
all the different kinds of greens, not eating just like the same thing like every single day. So I think there is something, and in gut health, like having, more varieties seems they're not sure, what's first. You have better gut health, you eat more variety, or you eat more variety, you have better gut health. I
So
do
there
think,
is something to the variety, probably.
I think so. I
Hmm.
mean, I do like simplicity and like eating the same thing every day because it makes it super
Yeah.
helpful. Maybe just like rotating it out. Like if you, have spinach in your smoothie every day this week, next week you do romaine or something,
Mhm.
something different, or just to kind of switch it up so you're not doing the same thing every day.
That's interesting.
now
Mm.
that's a really good idea though, because we kind of get into these ruts and say just mix up one thing maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be overly complicated.
Well, I've also heard people say like something will be bothering somebody and you'll say, well, maybe you are allergic or intolerant to, let me just say spinach. And they're like, well, I've always eaten spinach my whole life.
Mhm.
Right.
And it's like, well, now you're making like this, like it was an aha moment. Like, well, maybe all of a sudden your body is like intolerant to it because you've been having it for so darn long. It's like,
Right.
please don't give me any more of it. I can't
Yeah.
have it anymore, you
Yeah.
know? Hmm.
Yeah. Yep. And well, and like spinach, for example, a lot of people, well, that's super high in oxalate. So that if anyone eats a lot of spinach, they should switch it up because there, some, what is it, gallstones and stuff like
Yeah.
that can
Kidney
develop.
stones, yeah.
Yeah, kidney stones. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Hmm. Oxalates. I have to look that word up now.
Kidney stones are very painful, so avoid
Have
it
you
if you
had it? You've
can.
had it?
I've
I
had
haven't
it.
had, but it sounds
It's
quite
painful.
terrible.
Okay, so I have a question about, I mean, we could really go on, but if you're looking at now people are trying to focus on macronutrients.
Mhm.
If you, as a chef, as a food person, what are some good sources of protein and fats that you recommend? Carbs, we kind of can figure out, but the protein and fats, where do you go?
Yeah, so I think that just kind of depends on my audience. Like whenever I do an event, I do a form, like a survey, because I want to know what everybody's, well, first of all, their eating style, because I'll have, a keto eating style and a vegan eating style. And, so it's like, how do I accommodate, the paleo person and the vegan person. So I am always looking at different types of protein. But
Okay.
I usually do lean meats, the chicken and fish, or, we do red meat, we do steak. Um, but I do try to source local if possible. And then we at the retreats, it's interesting combination, but we do get a lot of like meat eaters, a lot of fitness people, and so that's all about like protein, protein,
Mhm.
protein. But then with like a vegetarian protein, I typically steer away from tofu or anything like that. And I mean, I like tofu every once in a while. I think it's great if you make it right, but I'll do more like beans or grain or whole grains, like quinoa has some protein in it, or um even greens, stuff like that.
Mm.
Like if like for a chef, like, so I wouldn't have like a protein powder or something like that. They have that available if that's what somebody wanted, but I've focused on more uh whole sources of protein.
Okay. So I have to make a pasta salad for our retreat that we're having. What kind
Yeah,
of pasta would you recommend using?
a pasta salad. Um, I don't know. I would
Are
want
you
something.
like, don't make a pasta salad at
I
all?
never
Is that
make
what you're thinking? Okay.
pasta salad. No, I would want something that would hold up, right? Because you're gonna be
Yeah.
putting veggies and sauce and so if you have one that you use, I would definitely go for gluten-free because we do everything gluten-free, and I've used some really good rice pastas that have held up in the past. I'd maybe experiment with it before.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've used some really bad gluten-free pastas and they just, do not
Yeah.
hold up. But I've had some good luck with some rice ones, but I don't typically, I love a good pasta salad, but I don't typically make pasta salad.
Okay.
I meant to make one all summer for my family because they do love pasta salad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is there a reason why? Just because it's not, I don't know. Like, is there a reason?
Well, most people are like gluten-free,
Okay.
carb conscious, like low carb. I feel like a lot of
Okay.
low carb. Yeah.
Okay. That
So
would make sense.
yeah.
What about the healthy fats? What would you recommend?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Healthy
Oh
fats.
no, that's fine.
But I love um olive oil and coconut oil and butter, like a good organic butter and ghee. But avocado is great for a healthy fat. I always have lots of avocados available
Hmm.
at retreats. People just grab them and eat them. I feel like I'm missing something, but yeah.
Okay, so go back to the olive oil because this question is the second time I remembered to ask you this. Tell me about the quality. Does it really matter? Because you go down the olive oil aisle and there's like cold pressed, there's extra virgin, there's extra virgin, there's cooking olive oil, there's baking olive. Like, dumb it down for me, please.
I go to Costco and
Okay, that's what I want. Yeah.
yeah, and I buy the organic. Well, this
Okay.
was just like recently a big thing, like they were adulterating the olive oils, right, with like lower seed quality oil. Like, there was a whole bunch of olive oils. They were kind of like not doing like pure olive oil, but I heard the Costco was like, they checked out good. But I usually
Okay.
just buy like olive oil from Costco, but I do tend to buy like the organic, at least extra virgin olive.
Okay.
Even for cooking?
Yeah, I don't use it. Well, so interesting, because I was reading a thing about Weston Price. If you're familiar with the Weston Price Foundation, they're more like on traditional foods. And they're like moving. I was using avocado oil,
Mhm.
but they're kind of moving away from that because that's like non-traditional. But I want to look more into that. But I was primarily using avocado oil for high heat things. But no, I don't typically use olive oil for high heat things. I was using coconut oil, but that really has a really strong taste, and then kind of moved into avocado oil, but that might have some issues too. I'm not sure yet. So
Okay.
Interesting.
If a person wants to stay on top of things, and we're come back full circle and everything is so confusing, right? Is one day
I'm
coffee's
using
bad for
avocado
you.
oil, and then they're like,
Yeah.
"You don't." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
One day coffee's good for you, the next day coffee's bad for you. One day eggs are good for you, the next day eggs are bad for you. How would you tell any of your clients how they should live their life that makes sense for them with this overload of information that we keep getting?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too bogged down in, like good and bad and like all of that, because it's constantly changing. I think the key is, I don't know, that's a tough question to answer because it's kind of tough, but I think just doing the best you can, really, and taking one step at a time, because I know most people are just like super overwhelmed and barely getting by, and like it doesn't have to be perfect if you can just like do the best you can, and take steps in the direction that you want to go. Like that's good. I
That's
don't know.
actually kind of what I was hoping you would say.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Because to me, if you go to look on social media, just take that one avenue, for example, and you follow 100 different people or even 10,
Yeah.
and each person is saying something different, and you're like, well, this part of this makes sense to me and part of this doesn't make sense to me. And so to just simplify it and say, just do the best you can with resources that you have, with what your time looks like. That actually, I'm happy to hear that answer because
Oh, yeah.
it makes more sense to me.
Yeah. I just feel like so many people are just overwhelmed and barely making it on the day to day. So I think if you can just do the best you can, and move towards like what you're hoping for, like that's and not every day is going to be perfect. No one has a
Yeah.
perfect day, but if we can just do the best we can with the resources we have, because that can be super confusing. Things can be really expensive. I ran into that in my class all the time. People were afraid of trying new things because some of the, like, if you look at, quinoa, I don't know if it's still really, but that was kind of pricey compared to, minute rice or something like that. They're like, do I want to buy this? And what about if it's bad and I don't like it? So I found like bringing that kind of stuff to people and letting them try it, or like hands-on, get the experience with how to do it, then they were more likely to continue, or like, oh, that was good, I tried it, now I will incorporate that into my life.
Wow.
Well, I think that makes sense, honestly. I,
Mhm.
I like the idea of actually introducing it to people, but I think people are just resistant because of the cost or the lack of knowledge of how to prepare something, and it just becomes really overwhelming. So you just go back to what you know already, which is maybe the minute rice or canned stuff. Or how do you think long term it affects people not to eat clean or whole foods?
Yeah, I get to hear like, thousands of stories all the time, in coaching circles, and I just can see like the impact of people changing their diet, like how people that the medical system has like, well, you're screwed for life or whatever. And they're like, well, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try this clean eating thing and eliminate, processed foods and sugar and eat vegetables. And it completely transforms their life. Like they'll become in remission. If they have autoimmune, they'll like heal themselves. So I feel like it's extremely powerful, and it's just really, I know it's beneficial, and not to like make people feel like do it now or you're gonna suffer, but I feel like just the experiences that I've seen is like how powerful like cleaning up our diet can be. And even for me, when I fall off track, I feel it everywhere. I'm getting older. I feel it everywhere in my body. It's like, oh, inflammation, here we go. But I think over time it accumulates, and there's disease, and it results in, either chronic inflammation or, a long-term health problem. So I do think it is important. I just don't think there's as much support like in the actual like structural system or like in society, like with like the USDA and the agriculture industry and just the school systems. Like there isn't really an emphasis on like getting back to basics. Like,
Yeah.
It's too expensive sometimes.
Yeah, and we're subsidizing the,
Yep.
like corn and soybeans. We're not subsidizing small farmers, so we're subsidizing like the processed foods. And so that becomes low cost, compared to like the more, a local farmer is going to have more energy input into their produce because it's more labor intensive. And, but over time, I think it's cumulative effects.
So I heard you say that you fall off the wagon. Does that mean sometimes you'll order a pizza?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Or have cupcakes for birthdays. Like because I feel like sometimes though, I mean, we feel like whoever we're following or whatever we're listening to, those people eat perfect 100% of the time. And it's overwhelming to look at somebody and go, God, like that doesn't even like, don't you just get a pizza sometimes, but I like that you say it's happened. You fall off,
More times than I'd like to admit. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel normal then.
Yeah.
We have enjoyed this conversation so much, and clearly we could ask you a lot more questions. So hopefully you'll come back and do another episode with
This
us.
is fun. Yeah.
I think we should do a Q&A. We'll have people submit questions,
Yes.
especially on how to keep their produce. We didn't even get into fruit.
We didn't.
Like if you cut a watermelon, how do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it? Like the bottom of the dish always gets watery and gross, and like then I can't eat the whole bottom layer.
I think then that layer goes into the freezer and that gets put into like smoothies or popsicles I make for the kids.
Oh. Okay, so you have recipes posted on your where people can follow you?
I don't think I have too many recipes, but I do have a few. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I should
All
add
right.
more. I'm working on it.
All right, good.
Thank you so
So,
much, Angela. This
thank
has
you so
been
much. It was
just
great to meet you.
so informative. So
Oh, this was fun. I appreciate being asked.
we'll
Thank
definitely
you.
have you back.
Good.
Yes.
I would love
All
to.
right.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.